Tonight, funding fears over the future of a vital drug and alcohol rehab service across the region. And local businesses and unions rally together for a working bee on a new wildlife park in Whyalla.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. The Aboriginal Drug and Alcohol Council has been rocked by the announcement that the federal government will cease funding to the body. There are fears the cut will leave more than 50 staff unemployed and over 20,000 clients without support.
Inside these doors is the centre that helps rebuild the lives of those who struggle with drug and alcohol problems. But now the centre itself is the one seeking the support. The head of the Drug and Alcohol Council last week receiving a call to let him know their $700,000 funding for the main office had been cut.
There was no reason, just that that's what the minister had decided.
The decision came as a complete surprise after receiving a call from the Prime Minister's office a week earlier to inform him that the funding for the rehab and day centres had been extended until 2020. Management is baffled about how it's expected to facilitate these programs without funding to the main body.
How are we going to pay staff or anything like that if we're no longer a funded organisation?
Though the federal government assures the decision means the short 6-month contract is to review the company before further extension.
There's no money going out of the global budget and there's no lessening of the government's commitment to delivering these services on the ground. We're just trying to make sure we get the best bang for our buck.
The group is looking to reach out to the federal government to clear everything up as soon as possible. And a swift resolution is timely. With employment contracts expiring at the end of this month, staff who want more stability than a 6-month contract may be forced to start looking elsewhere.
I think that process will start pretty much immediately, and over the next 2 or 3 months I would expect some kind of resolution.
Garth Burley, Southern Cross News.
A 19-year-old man from Port Pirie has been charged over an assault at the town's boat ramp car park last night. The 41-year-old victim was taken to the hospital where he was treated for facial injuries. The accused was released on bail and will face court later, while officers continue investigations into whether other teenagers were involved in the incident. Meantime, a man has been taken to hospital with multiple lacerations after an assault involving 3 men in Broken Hill. The incident unfolded just after midday today on the city's main street between Oxide and Iodide streets. The 34-year-old man's injuries aren't life-threatening. Police are asking for any witnesses to come forward. 2 men have been arrested after an aggravated armed robbery in Port Lincoln. On Friday night, police say 2 men stormed into the Port Lincoln South Football Club. It's alleged one man was carrying a hammer with the other wielding a gun as the pair threatened staff and made off with cash. The 26-year-old and 18-year-old men were both refused bail and appeared in court this afternoon. Port Pirie is now the home to a local drug action group, an initiative aimed at preventing alcohol and other drug abuse at a grassroots level. It's now calling for feedback to devise a plan to help those suffering from substance abuse.
Combating the scourge of drugs and alcohol in Port Pirie.
So it is really important to really understand what the issues are and then be able to address things early and appropriately.
The Alcohol and Other Drugs Foundation provided $10,000 to the local drug action team to help develop a community action plan. Once that plan's developed, it'll be able to apply for further funding to implement the strategies in the local area.
Identifying what the issues are in the community and then developing strategies to reduce the harm caused by those drugs and alcohol.
The group is calling upon locals to provide their knowledge to help deliver an evidence-informed alcohol and drug prevention project tailored specifically to Port Pirie.
From the community consultation, we'll have a better understanding of what the effects of alcohol and other drugs are in our community, and from that, the strategies will be around primary prevention and harm minimisation.
Over 20 organisations in Port Pirie have banded together on this group venture for the benefit of the community.
We've got 6 months to do the community consultation and establish the plan so that as soon as we can start really getting some strategies on the ground.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Port Pirie Bishop Greg O'Kelly has been appointed to a caretaker role within the Adelaide Archdiocese. He will now take on some responsibilities of Archbishop Philip Wilson, who recently stood down after being found guilty of concealing child sex abuse.
The goal would be to bring stability and a peacefulness there, that the people know that all is functioning as well as it can.
He will still remain the Bishop of the Diocese of Port Pirie while undertaking the caretaker role in Adelaide. After the break, back to the drawing board for Broken Hill Council as it tries to find a new home for the town's animal pound. A woman has fronted the Port Augusta Magistrates Court today, charged on a string of cannabis offences. She's accused of cultivating and trafficking a large quantity of the drug, as well as possessing drug paraphernalia. She was released on bail and is due to face court again in 2 weeks' time. A Moonta man has allegedly been caught driving with a suspended licence while speeding along the Augusta Highway. The 36-year-old was detected near Bungama around 5 last night. He was arrested and charged with exceeding the speed limit and driving while suspended. His car was impounded and he appeared in the Port Pirie Magistrates Court today. Fishers and watergoers are being urged to steer clear of a whale carcass on a beach 70 kilometres west of Port Lincoln. Remains of the young humpback were found on Frenchman's Beach on Friday afternoon.
The evidence that we've got is that it's died offshore and has probably floated around the ocean for a while and landed on the beach. Looks like scrape marks of teeth on the whale where it looks like it has been visited by sharks.
Authorities are now looking at options to remove the whale from the remote beach over the coming days. There's been a growing demand for classes teaching sign language in Port Lincoln. A community group has started its own classes to teach and raise awareness of the vital language.
Learning a language vital for the voiceless.
It's not only used by the deaf community, it's used with people that have disability as well and aren't able to communicate with their voice. So we've just come together as a community. There's been lots of people saying in the community that they would love to learn Auslan, but living in a regional area makes it difficult for that.
Bronwyn learned how to communicate with her son using Auslan through Skype sessions and hopes others in the community don't have to face the same challenge she did.
It does get tricky doing it over a television screen. Also, it's very hard to learn just looking at paper copies of signs.
Auslan Eyre Peninsula classes are currently being run once a fortnight at the local library, but the group is looking to expand.
We have been in contact with Deaf Can Do. They're really excited to get on board and help us, and they are looking at possibly coming over and running some intensive weekend sessions down the track.
A wide range of community members are keen to see it grow as well.
We have a daughter who's non-verbal, Ruby, who's 5 years old, so just thought it was a good opportunity to start learning and to teach our kids, other kids as well.
So that's something that I wanted to do to help me with work, but it's also something that I've always been interested in learning.
Casey Trelaw, Southern Cross News.
There's been another setback in the construction of a new animal pound in Broken Hill. City Council will now lodge a development application for a new site after receiving little interest during the tender process.
Over the past year, it's been a case of barking up the wrong site for council.
Council went out for tenders for the pound project. Unfortunately, the tender we received was well over the amount that we expected.
It's been wanting to move the pound for some time. The current building on Rackhouse Street is the subject of numerous noise complaints from homes and the neighbouring caravan park. Following a disappointing tender process, council was forced back to the drawing board and had another look at potential locations for a new facility. Its focus is now on a former refuelling depot at the city's airport, close to the Royal Flying Doctor Service building. At last week's meeting, local councillors voted to support the pound moving from its original proposed location to the depot site.
We want to make sure we do a development application. We're going to ask for an external person, so we're not doing the DA on ourselves, and that way that it is quite transparent.
It's another setback for a project that's been struggling to get up. But the Mayor's optimistic.
I'm hoping that it will be resolved in the next 4 weeks and that we can start the process. I'm sure that for our council staff, they will be calling in for the external person to do the application as quickly as they can.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Police are reminding residents in the Port Lincoln area to be extra vigilant in locking up their cars and properties. It comes in the wake of a spate of break-ins over the weekend where a number of cars, a shed and a caravan near Revesby Court and the Flinders Highway were broken into. Officers believe the cars and properties had all been left unlocked. Anyone with information is urged to call Crime Stoppers. Still to come tonight, the Whyalla community bands together to help work on a new wildlife park. That's next. Local businesses and unions have come together in Whyalla to lend a hand to the owners of the new Fauna park. They donated their time and equipment to help get the site ready for its opening next month.
Whyalla's Fauna Park is just about ready to take in animals, but there's still plenty of work to be done. It got a little help from friends yesterday, as local businesses and the CFMEU joined forces to move things along.
They all got on board and they've all got behind, and it's been an outstanding response from the local businesses.
In this day, yesterday alone, we probably cut out a month's work if it was just us.
Local contractors donated around $68,000 worth of work. Some repaired the aviary, others helped build a barbecue pit, while work was done to open up access roads and paths covered in scrub.
I looked at the local community and seen where I could help best with my labour, the people that are in our union.
State Secretary Aaron Cartledge says the cost to them will be repaid by the community enjoying the park.
Our members are part of the community. These are the grassroots activism things that we thrive on doing.
Mr. Grant says he's overwhelmed by the support ahead of their July opening.
It just shows how the community can focus, and the community's right behind us. I mean, it's really good to see.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
A change in the international steel industry is creating a demand for high-quality iron ore. Two mining companies have healthy deposits in the Broken Hill region, which could pave the way for another mining boom.
Major worldwide steel reforms are boding well for projects in the region.
When steel mills are profitable, they pay for higher grade ore because it increases their productivity.
Carpentaria and magnetite mines both have iron ore projects here in the far west, stretching down into South Australia. The companies say the high quality of what's coming out of the ground is what gives this region an edge. Using higher grade iron ores decreases pollution and increases efficiency.
If you put high grade into the furnace, that means you use less energy per unit of steel to produce your steel. And also, if you put high grade into the furnace, you produce more steel per unit of time, giving you productivity gain.
Because of the benefits of higher grades, both projects are receiving plenty of international interest. Carpentaria is only at the feasibility stage for its Horsens Iron project, but it already has its predicted annual production earmarked. Magnetite Mines has received similar interest for its project over the SA border.
The steel makers are recognising the benefits and the future is in high grade and in magnetite. Now our job now is to convert that interest into some funding for the feasibility study, and that's what we're working on, and we're confident we're going to do that.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Turning to footy now, and West Whyalla flexed their muscles with a 73-point win over Rapina yesterday afternoon. A strong first half set up the win, which keeps them on top of the premiership ladder. John Hunt has more. John, they're still looking strong this season.
They are, Fraser. Rapina ended North's unbeaten streak a few weeks ago, so on paper there was potential for a slip-up. But the Dragons never gave the Roos a look in, kicking away to a comfortable victory. Footy returned to Bennett Oval over the weekend and the Dragons felt right at home. From the first bounce, they dominated Rapina, kicking 5-6 and restricting Rapina to 1 goal. Their ball movement was slick and effective, opening up their opponents across the ground and punishing them on the scoreboard. By half-time, the game was effectively over, with West holding a 57-point lead, and while the scoring dried up in the second half, the damage was done. Nathan Grisona kicked 4 for the winners, as they made yet another statement about their quality. In other matches, Ruruna Bay stunned North by 39 points. After winning their first 5, North now haven't won in 3. And Souths moved within a game of North, thumping Centrals by 50 points. Graham Malbunka kicking 7 for the winners. Over in Spencer Golf Footy, South remain undefeated at the top, overcoming Sollies by 40 points. Port had a 100-point win over Asori West, and 5 goals from Tyson Horsnell helped props account for Central Augusta. Down in Port Lincoln, Mallee Park defeated Lincoln South 85-49. 11 goals from Johan Wagner helped Tasman smash Boston by 31 goals, and Marble Range were too strong for Wayback. Across in Broken Hill, South were way too strong for West, and a 12-3 first half guided North to a win over Centrals. In northern areas, Crystal Brook defeated Orroroo. Broughton Mundura had a 36-point win over Jamestown Peterborough, and a 4-2-0 start helped Southern Flinders cruise past BMW. And in Great Flinders Footy, there were wins for Tumby Bay, United and Cummins Kippini. So that's all the footy for this week. A week off next week for the long weekend, which will see interleague football and the revered Mortlock Shield in Port Lincoln. Good luck to everyone who represents their league. It's a wonderful achievement. And I'll see you all tomorrow night with all the other sport.
Good on you, John. John Hunt in Whyalla there. Well, stay with us. After the break, we'll have all the local weather details. And will the pleasant conditions be hanging around this week, Amy?
For the most part, the Spencer Golf can expect mostly sunny days, Fraser. However, a change is predicted for later in the week. All the details are coming up next. Welcome back. Mostly sunny around the region today. Port Augusta warming up to a top of 20. Whyalla and Port Pirie a degree or 2 cooler. Meanwhile, Port Lincoln did see some light showers and a top of 18. Taking a look at the satellite, and cloud moving across the south will bring showers and the odd storm, mainly about the coast. Clear skies elsewhere with dry winds bringing cold overnight temperatures. If you're heading out on the waters tomorrow, expect northeasterly winds up to 15 knots with seas reaching 1 metre. Sunrise will be at 7:17 while it will set at 5:17. After morning fog in Port Augusta and Whyalla, both centres can expect a sunny day tomorrow with maximums in the high teens. A fine day in Port Lincoln forecast reaching 18 degrees, while Woodnut will be warming up to 21. Checking the 4-day forecast, and showers are predicted later in the week in Port Lincoln. Similar conditions expected in Cleve and Woodnut by Friday, with temperatures sitting in the high teens. After a sunny start to the week, Whyalla and Kadina will also see a rainy change come Thursday. Port Augusta will remain mostly sunny until Friday, with possible showers and a high of 18. Port Pirie will reach 21 on Thursday despite the chance of showers. A very cool 14 degrees in Clare on Friday as that change comes through. And while Broken Hill will stay dry, a cloudy 17 is predicted on Friday. So Fraser, time to make the most of the sunny weather before that wet change comes through.
Thanks, Amy. And that's all from the newsroom for now. Thanks for your company. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.